a great night in time. I am so excited. I'm Pastor Tabitha C. Whitten, and I am absolutely greeting you in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I want you to know that healing is in the room. I want to welcome you to tonight's soul session. And I want to say tonight is the night. If you know someone that's struggling in their emotions, someone that's having a hard time with what I would call healing, if there's someone dealing with problems in their marriage, if there's issues in a relationship, or you are out of a relationship, but you just can't seem to get up and get going, this is your night. I want to ask you tonight to help me to share, because I believe that there are people that are dealing with things that you have no idea that they're dealing with. But I want tonight to make contact, because I believe tonight is the night to get things lifted. Can you help me tonight? Welcome, my dear sister. I'm so excited. Shenell Dixon. We know her as the great songstress. We call her the psalmist, the worship leader. We know her as the author. Now we know her as this great business woman. We know her as mother. And tonight, I think we're going to know her as the healing coach. Would you help me welcome to our platform our sister, Shenell Dixon?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Pastor Tab. I'm so excited to be here tonight.
Oh, my God. Listen, I'm so excited. You know, I always thought the first time that we connect as it relates to the ministry would be you be on our stage and you be wearing us out. But I tell you what, God has saw fit that you come tonight to help us to do what we need to do in our hearts, so that when we put our hands up, my God, there are no interferences. I'm super excited about the conversation. Thank you. Tell me a little bit. I got this book. I before I get to that, let me just say, the truth is, I was scrolling, and I had an opportunity to see your interview with Dr. Mosley and Amelia. And I'm gonna tell you, I stopped because I knew you, but I stayed because I knew it was him speaking through you. And I think it was maybe 2 years ago when I saw this, but in my heart, I stamped it and I said, I've got to talk to her about this book. And so when I got the opportunity, I'm like, God, would you help us connect? And so I just want you to know that way before now, the seed was released, and I'm praying tonight that what I experienced, someone else experiences, and we keep the healing going. So thank you so much for the work.
Absolutely.
I know you got this new clothing line, this boutique. Tell me something about that, lady.
It is called Recherche Fashion Boutique, and our specialty is illuminating in the magic and modesty. And so, everybody doesn't like the high price. Not everyone likes the high price. They could really care less. But, and I think everyone should look nice. We shouldn't all dress alike. However, we don't have to be exposed just to be beautiful. I know what social media says, but over at Recherche Fashion Boutique, we illuminate the magic and modesty.
I love it. Now, tell me about this recherche. Tell me where does that come from?
I told God I didn't want to be like anybody else, and I didn't want the name to be English. I wanted it to be French, and I looked up names. I said, I'm gonna keep looking and looking until I find something that connects. And I'm a woman of words and definitions, so when I looked up the definition, I was like, this is it. So what recherche actually means is someone who loves things that are not normal, but they are of high quality. So that's all me.
Yeah. Baby, I'm coming over there to Recherche. Listen, I saw a few pieces that I want, so I'm telling you, I'm going to come. I want to make sure that no one gets confused, because I want you to know that this looks a little unconventional. This conversation, it looks like, well, what are they doing? Looks like she's in a car. But I want to tell you that sometimes God will meet you in a cave. God will meet you in a car. God will meet you under a bridge. Wherever you are, when you are at a point in time for healing, God will meet you. And so I want you not to be alarmed, but I want you to stay tuned, because I think that there is something that God wants to download. And so I want to jump right in it. I don't want to delay the conversation. You wrote a book, The Healing Side of Hurt. And I've seen you do some workshops and some sessions. I've seen it. I am a fan. I want you to know I've been following you. But I didn't know exactly before the interview exactly what the book was really about. I really thought it was more for the worshiper, because I do believe that there are those that get hurt in their ministry service. So I really, because my association with you was your ministry work, I really thought it was strictly a book trying to help worshipers get to a healing place. And I want you worshiper to stay tuned because I believe it's for you too.
Yes.
But as I began to read, I became more aware that no, 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 this is a woman that has had a process that is willing to share that process for others. And so, um, where did this book come from? Why write this book?
Well, God instructed me that He would have me to write a book, and I felt like I didn't have anything to offer. So, this book took 3 years to go ahead for me to go ahead and say yes to. And so, because I was embarrassed about the process, I was embarrassed about some things that I had to go through and the processes of that. And God was like, no, you're holding other people deliverances, within you because I took you through that so that you could help somebody else. And nobody that's inside of what you're going through honestly really wants to hear that. You want out of it. But
Right.
God was saying, I need for you to write this. And I was like, people don't know me to be an author. He said, they will.
Wow. And they will. And so hats off to you for being obedient to God. And so this situation, you say you were in, you went through something. This book is called The Other Side of Hurt. The Other Side of Hurt. And there is no person who lives that will not experience hurt. My mother always said that there are three sides to every story. There is your side, there's the person's side, and then there's the truth. I'd like to say with hurt, it's the same. There are three sides to hurt. You talk about two sides. I think there is the side of hurt that hurts, there's the side of hurt that heals, and then there's a side of hurt that allows us to move forward to be headed to our next victory. With you, this hurt you experienced that you were talking about came from where? Let's explain. You say you like words. What is hurt and where did your hurt come from?
I had a lot of childhood hurt. I had that lingered over into adulthood hurt, church hurt, marriage, divorce, the ins and out with the children, and just people relation. So that it was a compilation of those kind of hurts that
Okay.
all bundled up in this. And with hurt, it's I don't want to get ahead of the discussion, but it's kind of like the same processes, and you just have to go through the same processes so that you could work through it.
Right. Okay. So hurt, unless hurt is addressed, then hurt continues to move to your next address. Is that what I hear you saying?
Sure, it's definitely you can't grandfather the process.
Wow.
There's no such
Okay.
thing as, oh, I'm just going to skip over this hurt, suppress it, pack it down. No, what you're doing, you're building a hurt home within. And before you know it, you're going to have a hurt mansion because you will not unpack all of what you're doing. Hopefully, I'm not jumping
No,
ahead,
no,
but
no.
this is my method. You have a situation, you have a thought, you have emotion, and you have behavior. That's the
Okay.
process is when you get hurt. Situation, thought, emotion,
Hmm.
behavior. Something happens, the situation is interpreted, a feeling occurs as a result of the thought,
Hmm.
and then an action in response to the emotion. That's the
Wow. That's the process. And so you talk about this cycle of chaos that's lived. And so there's somebody right now who keeps having the same situation, keeps having the same kind of relationship, the same kind of outcome. That is a cycle of chaos. And what caused you to come to a place where you were able to see this is a cycle? This is madness like multiply. What caused you to have the opportunity or the availability to see that this was something? This wasn't just an incident, and it wasn't everybody else, because you talked about that whole blame thing. It wasn't everybody else, it wasn't everything else, but I am living a cycle of chaos. How did you come to that resolve?
I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. I didn't like that I had become my problems. I
Wow.
didn't like that I had become what happened to me. And I would always use the excuse, I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask for people to treat me this way. And for a lot of people, they feel as if, oh, this is just the way I am. No one has to deal with you the way you are. That's
Mm.
you, and that's your issue, and no one has to deal with that. Your hurt may not be your fault, but your healing is your responsibility.
Stop, stop, stop. Say that one more time. You said you're hurt.
Your hurt might not be your fault. You might not be to blame for your hurt. You may have gotten childhood hurt or experienced childhood trauma. You're defenseless. That might not be your fault. That's totally on the other person. However, your healing is your responsibility.
That's a big pill to swallow, but I'm glad that God gives us water, and I feel lubricated, moisture in our throats, so that we're able to digest that and get this next part. You said my hurt may
Hurt.
not be my fault, but my healing is my responsibility. And then you said that healing needs help. My God,
But that hurt needs attention.
come on, come on. That hurt needs attention. How do you give
Yeah.
hurt attention? Talk to me about
So
that.
say for instance, your child falls in the park and you pick the child up and you look at the knee. Say if it's they scrape their knee, you need to assess it. You need to assess the wound to see if it needs just to be wiped down, alcohol, neosporin, and a band-aid, or it may need to be wiped down and it may need to get stitches. It may need to
Mm,
go to urgent care. You know, a lot of times we get hurt and we want to just dust it off or
mm.
maybe not even show it any kind of attention. But if you don't assess the hurt to determine, you'll never know what type of attention your hurt need if you don't assess the hurt. You have to acknowledge, oh, I fell down emotionally.
Mhm.
I fell down spiritually. And I got to see what really happened so that I can determine what type of hurt. Because if you do not assess the hurt, the scar, the wound, the trauma, then you won't know which way to go.
Right.
Do I see a doctor or is this an over the counter thing?
Wow.
And that way, because then it'll set up an infection.
Wow.
And then you'll become infectious to everyone else because infection starts from the inside out.
Wow. Hold on. You're taking us too fast, too quick. Wait a minute. Hold on. So I need to, when I have a situation, because I am infamous for just getting up and going on. And I've not done well. This is the truth. I'm going to be as transparent as I can, because I'm hopeful that as I am honest with this conversation, I continue to heal and others can identify or connect, and that same process takes place in their lives. But I think sometimes we're so strong that idea of stopping to access or even acknowledge that there has been an injury, that there is an issue. Sometimes it just causes us to feel weak, and we just get up, and I tell people, cry and walk. And I do think you should cry and walk, play hurt, but you at least need to make sure that you know what you're dealing with so that you can do whatever it is you need to do with that hurt, and it not, as you say, set up infection that's going to create a bigger problem, a problem that goes further than necessarily it needs be, with what it really is. Because it can be something that hurts me right now today. I can take care of it today, and it only feels a little bad and whatever. But if I don't, it sets up something that not only continues to keep this sensitive and in pain, but it creates discomfort for other areas of my body. And I think that that is the reality that we're dealing with so many times, that this that I'm dealing with here is something that was set up from something else. Really, what I'm dealing with don't have nothing to do with what I'm addressing something at the stage that we start to deal with, but that's not even what it really is. And
Right.
so,
It's kind of like what the medical term septic attack. You can get a scar, say for instance, you bump yourself or your elbow, your arm, your leg, whatever, and you don't pay any attention to it, but you don't know that you've cut off the blood supply, which is the life.
wow.
So now your leg black. And if the doctors cannot get any blood flow in there, if you don't allow God to let the healing virtue flow through that wound. Now it has to be amputated because the septic can go through your whole body and you will terminate.
Wow. So the question becomes, when we get to a place where sometimes we recognize it, I guess what I'm asking is, did someone say to you, did you have someone to say, hey, Chanelle, did something ain't right, something's going on here? Or was it just that inward spirit to spirit, hey, you need to look at this? How did you come to a place where I need to work on this? I got an infection, or this is not what I need to be. I'm not my best self. How did that happen? How did you become aware?
I became aware because I noticed that every person that I was blaming my hurt on, they were going on with their lives. And I wanted to know, how was it that I was the one that was stuck? I said, I'm the offendee. I'm not the offender.
Ow!
Why is the pressure not where it should be applied? They sleeping good at night, and here I am up, and I'm
Right.
the offendee. So I said, and then that's when God began to teach me about receiving an apology that you never received from them. Accepting that apology that you never received, and that's very difficult because most people aren't remorseful for what they have done for you. Some people are, but in some cases, they're not remorseful. And a lot of people don't know how to apologize. I even dedicated an entire chapter in this book called The Art of Apology, because some people can say, if I offended you, no, you
Right.
yeah,
Right.
or I'm sorry you feel that way. No,
Right.
you're not sorry. So,
Right.
and some people really don't know that as soon as you apologize, that healing virtue instantly activates.
Wow. But if you never get that apology, then how do but you said something about learning how to
That you
receive an apology.
accepting that apology that you're never going to get. You have to understand where you are, and it's for your better self. It doesn't let them off the hook. It just takes the hook out of you.
Wow. Oh God, have mercy. How you do that? And I'm being honest now, because I really understand the whole idea but how am I so injured, and how am I still in my feelings? And it's like, it doesn't bother you. I mean, I so get that. I mean, and you absolutely, you injured me. I so get that. But I so understand this idea, and I understand forgiving and trying to let it go. But I've never really heard the accepting the apology that you never get.
My biological father chose not to be in my life, and I was struggling with that fact. I was 30 years old. And in prayer, God told me, and I'm not trying to over spiritualize, this is actually what happened. He told me, he said, I need for you to receive the apology that you've never received from your father. And I said, well, for what? Because he should apologize for his absenteeism. And so by the time he did call to apologize, it was already gone. So how I did that, I had to sit with the fact that I'm really about to have to just let this go
Lord
for
have
the
mercy.
betterment of me. And so it's not until you come to the end of yourself and the end of the offense and make the decision that I don't want this thing to control me anymore. I don't want it to have a grip over me anymore. It's like, because when you see that person, something stand up in you,
Yes, God.
or something sit down and
How
put
about
it in
something lay down? How
come
about something
on.
roll over? Something get.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it's like, okay, forgiveness and kumbaya and all of that. Okay, we get it. But at the same time, I'm really hurting. I'm really offended. And you, as a parent, you should have done better with that. I didn't deserve that. I didn't ask to be here. I'm going through all of that.
Right.
And God allowed me to go through that, because you have to feel what you feel. However, I had to come to the grips with that was his decision. And people make decisions that other people have to deal with the effects from.
Right.
But because I wanted to be free from the shackles of offense
Jesus.
and
Hmm.
unforgiveness.
Hmm.
Of course, you do feel better sometimes if you just be mad, but you're not free.
Right. Right.
Not free.
That's
You're
good.
not. And
That's good.
that situation, I could be stubborn. So I learned how to use my stubbornness in the right way. Let me
Okay.
explain. We could be stubborn and go against the current in a whole lot of things, but I chose to go against the current of unforgiveness.
Okay.
I'm not going to accept this unforgiveness anymore. I'm going to set myself free through God, and I'm not going to have these shackles. And he actually did call me one day and apologize. And I
Wow.
was like, oh, everything's okay because God already,
Wow.
helped me to receive that apology that is almost 20 years too late.
Wow. So I understand that, and I saw that you talked some even about coming to a place where you accept some things, not just in this in your marital situation. And so you talked about crying continuously to have God to remove that that pain. I think that when you said it's one thing to cry, because I've been to the place where I've cried and said, God, please move this. And you talked about crying continuously. Can you talk a little bit about that asking God, and we're on really on this journey of moving, but it may not move the moment or
Right.
in the one time that we ask God. And so you talked about measuring your misery. I mean, listen, but this crying continuously to get rid of, that means I'm really serious. And so talk to us about when I'm serious about it and I go to God and I ask him to move because I want to be free. I want to be free from the feeling. I want to be free from the experience that I'm having emotionally. And that doesn't go away instantly. Then what do you do?
You have to first understand that healing comes in stages.
That's good.
You did not get hurt all in one day. So you're
That's
not going
good.
to all in one day. I know that when we're in quote unquote the fire of things and the grit of it all, we want it all to go away right then, but that's not how it works. It doesn't process through that way. If God was to allow us to instantaneously have these things, it wouldn't stick.
Mm.
One thing about the story about the Hebrew boys when they were in the fire, one thing that I did enjoy is that Jesus came out of season not to pull them out but to get in it with them first. And a lot of people need to understand that God is not pulling you out of it because he needs for you to understand that we don't serve a high priest that cannot feel our infirmities. He want to be inside of this thing with you because that is our promise. That is our only promise that we have without a prerequisite. He said, I'll never leave you and I'll never forsake you. Everything else has a prerequisite. So I believe that once we get that fact to understand that healing happens in stages, it's
Hmm.
not going to just be one day I'm going to wake up and I'm healed from it. No, because you didn't get hurt all in one day.
Jesus. Okay, so wait. So one more time. Let's be clear that healing happens in stages, and sometimes we may not come out at the time that we want to come out, but we can be comforted in the fact that we are not in it by ourselves. That right there will make me feel some kind of way. I'm not in it by myself. And I know that sometimes the only goal is to get out of it. But if you know that God is in it to get you more out of it than what you are just looking to get out of, then sometimes just that information can help us in our situations. So I don't want you to tune us out, and I don't want you to flip because it's like, what are they talking about? We're talking about healing. I'm talking to the person that's been crying and crying and crying, and you are about to give up on God because you said, man, you said if I called him, he would answer, and you just need revelation about your situation. God is not ignoring you. One of the things you have to take confidence in is that God heard you, and here it is, and God is here with you. Wherever that here is, that hurt, that pain, wherever that situation came from. So I want you to just take a moment and just say, Lord, thank you right now. Lord God, thank you right now for being here with me. And now, as you're calming down, I want you to say, Lord God, and I'm going to come through this. I want you to get a pen. I want you to get some paper, and I want you to share. If you know somebody's dealing with a situation of trouble in their heart, My God. And if you ain't, at some point you will, because you cannot love a human person that is perfectly human, full of flaws, and not at some point have the experience of hurt. If you know someone, anyone that you know could be assisted in understanding the other side of hurt, I want you to push share right now, and I want you to get your pen and your paper, because we're about to come back with some information that's going to help you and your heart. Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into Soul Session with Pastor Tabitha. We need your help to continue spreading the gospel north, south, east, and west. Our mission is to gather the lost and the left and connect them to a purpose-filled life in Christ, and your generosity can help us continue the work. We have 3 ways to give. You can give online at rfchouston.org or via Cash App at $RFC or you can also give by texting the word REMNATION to 77977. However you choose to support the work, we will be forever grateful for your generosity. And don't forget to join us for Prayer Live online at 12 noon Central Time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And by the way, if you need a place to worship on Sunday, join us in person at 3303 Orange Street in Houston, Texas, or online at 12 noon Central Time. We would love to worship with you. Now, back to more conversation with Pastor Tabitha.
All right. We are back, and I'm so excited. I want to tell you that my heart is feeling a little bit healthier. You know why? Because I've gotten a revelation. I was just reminded that God is here with me. And where am I? I'm brokenhearted. I am wanting relief. I'm wanting to get up. I want this pain to stop. And sometimes we have to be reminded that pain was not this issue of hurt did not develop overnight, and so the idea of healing is going to take longer than a night. So be encouraged and just be persuaded that there is another side of hurt, and I want to help you to make sure that you don't get stuck feeling like you got to always be where you are emotionally. I believe that God wants to bring you through. And so you've got to know there's an other side, there's another side, the other side of hurt, and that is healing. And that's what we want to try and help you with. I know, Chanelle, you were married. How long were you married?
11 years.
11 years. Oh, I didn't know 11 years. Oh my God. Okay. So 11 years. And do you still believe in marriage?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. I was about to say, some people get through a situation. It's like, oh, that's it. Like, nope. But thank God.
Sorry.
Good deal. So, you gave some great advice to people who are in situations of marriage that may be having some circumstances, like every marriage will at some point. I want to encourage people who are in marriages that may be, kind of having a bout, having a little rough patch. I want you to just speak directly to them. I want you to talk to them like you directly talk to them in this great book that you wrote, to just try and encourage them.
Well, understand this, that 2 different humans coming from 2 different backgrounds, there are going to be some disagreements and, all of that. But a lot of times, one party is trying to tell the other party what they should do, and that goes hand in hand. What you have to do is use wisdom on what's your system of communication. Because without that system or that healthy way of communicating, it's just not going to be good. Then you have to understand, if you have to look within yourself. Because it's easy. Oh, I could tell my husband, oh, you should have been doing this. You should have been doing that. But then God will come say, okay, well, what part did your hand play in it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of self-reflection. It's a lot of give and take. It's a lot of forgiving quick. But if you have not reached the max of your potential in that marriage, don't let it go.
Don't let it go.
If you have not tried all you can try, different avenues, it's a lot of humbling. It's a lot of, there's no room for pride. There's no room for an ego. There's no room for any of that. I made this commitment, and it's all or nothing.
Wow. And so you really encourage people to give it all they have for their marriage.
Yes.
Yeah. You said something. You said it real quick, but you said forgive quick.
Yes.
Talk to me about forgiving quick. Talk to me about what that looks like.
Well, you have one thing in my marriage, my bounce back was terrible. It was terrible. Something would happen that would go over in days and a week. Whereas, okay, things are gonna happen. Let's get back in the game. It doesn't mean you're not hurt, you're not offended, but whatever situation you're in, only let that situation do what it's supposed to do. Do not allow that situation to build a supporting cast, because
Mm,
no one spirit comes by itself.
mm.
And in relationships, you'll have, okay, the spirit of separation not gonna come by itself. It's gonna come with their cousins, the spirit of confusion, want silent treatment, wanting to be mad, and then now the whole house is divided. And we all know, if a house divided, come on, the
Right,
rest. So
right.
it's just a matter of, okay, we dealt with this. Let's talk this out. And sometimes you won't be able to talk everything out. That's the reality of it all. Some stuff you really just have to work through with yourself. And you just have to ask God to help you to get through it and talk it out with God.
So because it kind of sounds like, just just keep going, like don't allow, I mean, because I'm saying that's probably why I'm not married, because no, I'm being very honest. I'm being very honest. I mean, so many things have been, I mean, this is a life. I've been with me for 56 years. So I might as well tell the truth. That bounce back, my bounce back is not good. And
And
so
sometimes it's really hard to bounce back, because before I can get over one thing, you've done something else, and not everything is touching. And it's like, okay, I got a whole spaghetti bowl of stuff you done got on my nerve with. And I was trying to digest this one thing, but now you
yes,
got on my nerve about something else.
yes, yes. I mean, I'm saying, so do you, because for a person like me, it feels like you're being fake. It's like you just, so should I begin to consider that differently, or
Yeah, because you have to process it all the way through. Okay, they said that, I voiced it. We may not have had the best conversation, but what am I? Because I'm responsible for me. So how am I going to handle this with me? Am I going to let this steal my joy? Am I going to let this take my peace? Or am I just going to let this run through me? Because every day,
yes, yes,
believer,
I am.
well,
Yes, I am, because you know what you said, because sometimes we get some sense of glory in being mad. You
yes,
know, it
not done
it
being mad.
yeah, that it vindicates something, it validates something,
That's
but
why
it
we hold
doesn't
on to
really, that's why we hold on, but it really doesn't afford us the victory that we really deserve. Now that's the truth. I can tell the truth. I feel good about being mad, but I'm not accomplishing anything, and I'm ruining my own atmosphere, my own energy, my own ability to process mentally like I need to be. I tell the whole truth. And so you're saying that if I am married, if I'm in this committed relationship and I've made this vow, and we are trying to work this out, I cannot have a poor, I'm talking to somebody, my bounce back got to get up, and I got to get some more, I got to get some air in my bounce back. I got to get up.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I
So
got to learn how to let it go.
it's a forever thing that you always work on. But as a believer, I believe that peace, love, joy, all of that are byproducts of spending that quality time in the presence of God. Right? That's that
That's
exchange.
for me. But what about for him?
That's that exchange. But for him, you really have to, as a wife, you really have to commit your husband to God and commit yourself to God. And that's not being spiritual, but I used to tell God all the time, okay, pick one. What's more important to you, for me to be saved or be a wife? Because I can't be both. And I
Yeah.
tell everybody, if you want to be everybody, oh, I want a ring on, honey, you don't know how to pray until you got a mate, male or female. I'm telling
Right. Yes. Yes. That, I mean, so work as hard as you can to hold on to what God has given you. But then here's the truth. Here's the truth that you say, but the hardest work does not give a guarantee that things won't fall apart.
everything risk.
So there may be someone, Chanelle, who is watching, and they have worked as hard as they can, and they've done everything that they can. And what are some telltale signs that maybe we need to consider something different?
Right. I have a chapter in the book as well, that said that I think it's called The Beginning of the End.
Yes.
And one of the most hurtful feelings that I've ever experienced is watching your mate. When you realize that this is the beginning of the end, but to realize that it's been over with them.
Right.
It's nothing like looking into your mate's eyes that used to be filled with love for you to see that it's lifeless.
Jesus.
And it's just a whole lot of loud life, and it's a whole lot of realization that you just have to come to grips with, and that's not overnight.
Okay.
Because when it's the beginning of the end, you're having to go back through that relationship, but alone.
Oh, wow.
Because there's no healing without going through what you come through.
Oh, God.
Because what are you from? You have to unpack it.
God. So I know that we're at the beginning of the end when there's nothing there. I mean, there's this disconnect. There's no denying that there's a disconnect. And the truth is, the disconnect is not just at the place where I'm willing to acknowledge it. If I'm able to acknowledge it, it's possibly been there for a minute. And so it's accepting that there's a disconnect, and then dealing with the reality that life is going to change. And you talked about some of the things that we don't even think about when life changes after we've lived together and built this life. You talked about a few of those things. Mention a few of those now. I'll tell you one. You said you talked about that empty bed. I'm like, you know what?
Because it's a real reality, and when I moved out, I had the kids. When we got together, I didn't have kids, so you'll get up and go, it's not the same. And because I had small children, and then we might have got on each other's nerves, but at least you weren't alone.
Right.
You weren't by yourself. And so now you having to deal with what I call loud silence.
Wow.
And that's why a lot of people won't sit still. You see them always going, always doing, and they overcrowd their schedule because they can't handle their own silence. And your silence is loud, and you cannot handle your own silence. It's time for you to get somewhere and unpack some things, because that's what happened in the pandemic. That's why at the beginning of the pandemic, God told me that a lot of churches wasn't going to make it, and a lot of marriages wasn't going to make it, because you cannot deal with what you're actually in.
Wow.
Because you will front. But the pandemic made us sit down, be still, and say, I want you to take a look at what you're surrounded by.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So dealing with that loud noise, the loud noise of whatever it is. I mean, if it's empty, whatever it is, it's learning to sit with whatever it is that's really a part of your experience. We have to get to a place where all together we got to accept it. There were these 3 A's. You talked about this, that you have to be prepared for healing, a preparation for healing. What does that mean?
That means that that you realize that you are about to go through some processes.
Okay.
Everything is going to be front street, and you have to make up in your mind that you want to be healed.
Okay. Let's stop right there. Yes. So healing is not something you can pretend that you won't. And, because a lot of people, I'm not trying to be funny. They go through prayer lines, and they may go to counseling. They may do all of these things that maybe someone suggested, or maybe it looks right. But you have to have an inner resolve that I want to be well. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, I want to be well. I know first that I'm hurting.
Okay.
Or I know that something is off, because hurt is often recognized, but healing is mainly ostracized.
Wow.
I learned that when I wrote this book, and I was like, I'm thinking, oh, everybody wants to be healed. A lot of people take it offensively to say you need to be healed, and it was like, well, what's wrong with me? No, you got to make a choice that you have to admit that you have an issue.
Right.
Help. And when you decide that you need help, then it's just like getting on a roller coaster. You have this bar that comes down, and then you have this other bar that you put on your chest.
Mm-hmm.
And you hold on, because we're getting ready to go up.
Wow.
We're getting dump down. We might even go backwards. We might even turn upside down. But you have to make the decision and prepare yourself, because a lot of people don't like to be vulnerable. And you can't control the way that healing comes. So this is why you have to make a conscious decision that you want to be healed, that you're going to allow your body, your entire trichotomy, your body, your mind, and your spirit to say, I'm going to allow myself, my entire self, to go through this detox. That's all healing is. It's a detox that allows you. I try not to get too excited.
Yes.
And when you're detoxing, it pulls out all the impurities. So this is why you have to prepare for that. It's just like when you're doing a natural detox. You don't make plans
just get up
run all over town.
That's good.
Stay close to where you can let all of the waste out.
That's good.
That's why you have to make a conscious decision and prepare for your healing.
Oh my God, I feel it. You got to prepare for healing. And let's talk, because you talked about this AAA process. Tell me a little bit about that. What is that because I don't want to talk through this book, but I want you to know. Let me see here. Let me get this here. I'm on. I didn't write my pages down here. Hold on. I'm like, Jesus. While I'm finding this, I want to make sure that I continue to tell people that this is the book that you want to acquaint your life with. It's the healing side of hurt. Yeah. Don't just be hurt. Don't just settle for being hurt. Know that there is another side of hurt. I think it's the beginning of the end and this letting go. Hold on here. I said, Jesus, this AAA process. Hold on here. I couldn't believe it. I'd never heard any of these principles in such a way. You talked about absence makes the heart fonder, or it makes the heart forget.
Forgetful.
And amputation versus I called it manipulation.
Yeah.
Wait a minute here. Hold on one second, because I want to.
And while you're looking for, when you say absence make the heart grow fonder, or forgetful, sometimes we too close to things, you know, that we don't get it. Sometimes it takes you being away for you to really appreciate what you really have, know. And that's why a lot of couples and a lot of people they revert into themselves, which is a form of separation. And married couples or relational couples, they separate so they can, see what it is that they want individually, and then if it's enough to come collectively.
Page 13.
Let's go there.
The AAA. We broke up. Now what do we do? Because that's what I want to help people with. Because I know that there are a lot of situations, and you know what? Let me just really invert right here that we're talking about a marriage, but I believe these principles are applicable to any kind of relationship that deals with separation or breakup or breakdown. And so somebody may, very well tune in real quickly and say, oh, well, they're talking about marriage, and so they'll chime out. But if you're in a relationship with people, and you have this separation, these are principles that cross the board, they cross the street, they're parallel, and you can transfer these truths to your situation. And so hurt is hurt. And when you experience hurt, if there is help and it is sourced in truth, truth does not change. It's absolute. And that's why we don't run from support groups, and that's why we don't run from a lot of the things that people think are secular, because they're built on truth. Ain't but one truth. That's the absolute, and that comes from God.
Yeah.
And so if we can get to the source and then allow that to give us strength, I think that it's going to help us to be stable. Did you hear that, preacher?
Absolutely.
Yes. So talk to me real quick about this break. We done broke up. We tried, and it didn't work. We tried and it didn't work.
One thing I would like to say about, when people are freshly broken up, give yourself the grace to catch a new rhythm.
Say that 2 more times.
Give yourself the grace to catch a new rhythm. You're fresh out of a relationship. You were doing things dually, and now you have to do it in a singular fashion. Give yourself some time to learn what your pace of grace is now outside of the relationship. Because what you have to understand is, we can say, oh, it was his fault, oh, it was her fault, oh, it was their fault, whatever. But distance will always perfect what closeness couldn't detect. Distance will always perfect what closeness couldn't detect. Okay. Sometimes it takes you coming away and even getting with yourself to say, okay, when you in it, you don't see the same as when you're on the outside of it. So the AAA effect.
Wait. Because you said give yourself time to find this new rhythm. But I think we want to make that a little bit clearer, because I think what you're also saying is, don't just rush out and stop trying to keep connecting with somebody else to cover up what you're dealing with, and I would say contaminate somebody else. Give yourself time to clear out. Give yourself time to heal. Give yourself time for time.
Put a period in your life. Stop with run-on sentences. Stop
you said it. Yes.
Stop.
Yes.
Put a period, because if you can go seamlessly from one person to the next person, to this relationship, to that relationship, something's off sync in you.
That's good.
You're not processing. You're not ending something. That's why a lot of people get a lot of pacifiers, life pacifiers, your substance abuse, you're drinking, you're smoking, and I'm not coming against anybody who do.
Right.
Clear that up. You're going from person to person, but you're not understanding that it's you that needs to stop.
That's good.
Let me find a different rhythm. Let me air out. Because in all reality, you don't have anything to offer anybody else, because you can't pick up with somebody else where you left off with the other person.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to give me some time, and I'm going to practice this AAA process. I'm broken up. I tried. I want to one more time encourage people to get this book, The Healing Side of Hurt. There's more to hurt than just hurt. And I want you to get to the other side. But now, for those of you who are dealing with breakups, those of you who are dealing with breakdowns, I want for you to write these 3 principles, these 3 processes down that I want you to apply to your life. And they are what?
You have to acknowledge, assent, and ameliorate. Now, when you acknowledge, that is to recognize its existence. We talked about that. And to assent is to agree and accept. Without you agreeing that this has been an issue, you have to accept that it happened to you. Yeah, you embarrassed. Yeah, you hurt. Yeah, you feel played, and all the other emotions that come with that. And no, you are not the one, and all of that. La 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 la. Lastly, you have to ameliorate, and that's to make or become better, more satisfactory. All of these processes says that I want to be a better person internally. I want to be a better person just because I want to be a better person. And if you
Mhm.
desire another relationship, you cannot do that without going through these processes. And if you desire to be single for the entire rest of your life, you don't want to be the person who nobody wants to be around because you reek of what happened to you in your past.
Mhm.
Oh God, you
Mhm.
reek of hurt, you reek of depression, you
That's
reek
good.
of bitterness, you reek of hatred. You
Right.
deserve better than that. God did not give us a life. God created us. God created the world for us to enjoy, but He created us for Him to enjoy.
That's good.
How is it that we're gonna and God is not expecting perfection, but how is it that we come and we want to lift up our hands when the thing about it is we got to give our heart to God and let Him do something that we can't do for ourselves, because we can harden our heart, but we can't soften it.
That's good. I love that line. When I saw that, I said, Jesus, that is so real. That is so right. My God. My God. Listen, let me tell you something. We've only tapped the surface of this great information, the healing side of hurt. I want to tell you, I was expecting to read a good book. I was expecting for it to be a good book, but I sent her a message and I said, but I was not expecting to be read. And I'm going to tell you, in life, if you want to get right, you're going to have to first be read. And I believe that as you spend time with the healing side of hurt, I really believe that I am a proponent of best life now. I'm a proponent of healing. I'm a proponent of life work. And so that is why I endorse this book, because I know that it will support the work that needs to happen in our lives being well. I want to say, Chanelle, thank you. I want to ask you, where can we find you? Like, what are you doing? What do you have going on right now? What do you have coming up? Where can we find you? People, because I know people are going to want to reach out and make contact. Maybe they have questions, or maybe they want to be a part of your next session. How do we make contact with you?
Absolutely. You can reach me several ways. Chanelle Dixon, Facebook is Chanelle Dixon, Instagram. You can go to ChanelleDixonMinistries.com. My number, my email address, all of that is all over everywhere. I'm getting ready to do this Father's Day show that I'm hosting, and it's going to address a whole lot of topics that I had an amazing stepfather. And so I kind of have the best of both worlds. I know what it is to have the absenteeism of a father, but I also know what it is to have a father that is overly present in your life.
Wow.
And so I'm an advocate for great fathers and for those fathers who just need, just a little shaking. Come on. Come on.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So if you are a father or a parent, I invite all family to sit down and let's have a discussion. Let's talk about child support. Let's talk about separation. Let's talk about blended families. Let's talk about how we can, adults, not use children as control factors,
Wow.
try to control each other. So, let's just talk about it. I believe that this is a service that should be offered from the kingdom. It's a rehabilitation service.
I love
So
it.
that's the nearest thing that I'm about to do. But at any point, I'm always talking about healing and restoration and, just being revived from the inside out.
Right. And so you are a worship leader. And so for those who are interested in the music ministry of you, listen, you wouldn't believe that you have so many incredible gifts. Then we want to make sure that you are reaching out. We're going to have you over at the Remnant. Yes, we are. Let me go ahead and say we certainly are. And I want for you to make sure that you keep me up on the work that you're doing so that I can do everything that I can to push that out in the earth realm. One more time, I want to be sure that you are in touch and you get the healing side of hurt. And Chanelle, can I get you to just do this as we're about to get out of here? Would you just pray for relationships and people who are, what I believe God is doing, is putting them on the path of preparation for healing? Would you pray for them so that we can just stay encouraged as we move forward?
Absolutely. I want to address everyone and just give them a charge and just let them make you aware of it. May be time to have these difficult conversations. Let's stop shying away from these conversations that need to be had. When we avoid these difficult conversations, we trade short-term discomfort for long-term dysfunction. And so, Father, we thank you now that there are windows that are opening for us to converse with each other in peace. Father,
Yes,
we
God.
thank that there is a self-reflection and there is a conviction that rests upon us to get things right and to get things settled. In your word, you have given us ways on how to work things out when the offenses are present. And God, we're asking that you would allow your healing virtue to flow and to activate within us, God, and help us to come to the end of our flesh and to the end of our offense, and give us a ready mind to be able to make that decision and make that choice to say, God, I want you to shine your light in me and to illuminate the things that are not reflecting you. God, forgive us for holding these things within, and give us a way on how to release them, Father, and to be not just healed, but to be made whole. Father, you are nigh unto those who have a broken heart, and you save us such that be of a contrite spirit. You are more than concerned about everything that concerns us, and we thank you for the victory even now, for every listener, for everyone who's watching, God. We asking, God, that there is an epiphany, that there becomes an awareness that there needs to be a looking down on the inside. And God, and I'm asking that you would allow that healing to flow now in Jesus' name, and that there no one will leave this broadcast the way that they came. In Jesus' name, amen.
That is, my God. Thank you so much, my sister. God bless you. Bless
so
the
much.
word. And for those of you who have tuned in, don't you forget, maybe you caught the tail end, but I want to tell you that you should not keep what you just heard in. Why don't you share? Why don't you make somebody aware that there is another side of pain? There's another side of hurt, and it's called healing. And you know what? And it's available for you. I love you in Jesus, and I can't wait to see you next time. Between now and next, go get healed.
Yes.